Okay, having looked at rivets, we're now going to look at the other option, and these are called Chicago screws, sometimes referred to as binding screws because the very, very long ones are used in bookbinding sometimes. Chicago screws give a very similar effect to a rivet, and they will do the same job in so much as they'll perhaps hold a strap on or give a little bit of reinforcement to the side of a pocket, or even as a decorative thing. However, they are a little more pricey, and they are slightly different. They're easier to fit. If you've got, let me just turn the light on here because I think we're not very light. If you've got arthritic hands, or you're worried about using Chicago rivets rather, than Chicago screws are definitely another option. So let's have a little look at a Chicago screw, the anatomy of a Chicago screw, shall we? Let's just undo this. And I've got several different sorts to show you. So we have two parts. We have the top, and this is the top of this particular design, and it has a lovely shiny domed top. And we have the bottom, which has a groove in it, which is where you tighten it with your screwdriver. And the two pieces fit together. This side is threaded, and it goes into, my big fat fingers are not ideal for this actually, it goes into there, and then you would tighten it with your screwdriver. Now, a lot of people say, oh, but what if they come unscrewed? You can pop a little drop of glue in before you screw it up to secure it, and I've never had one come out yet. I mean, I don't always use glue, sometimes I do, it depends if I remember, but if you do them up nice and tightly, they don't come undone. Chicago screws are sold in much the same way as rivets are, with usually two numbers. So the first number will be the diameter of the front head, the second number will be the length of the stem, and they literally do come with lots of different sizes. As you can see, this one has a similar size head, but the stem is a considerably longer. I think that's a 10mm stem on there. Let's just move that around a little bit so you can perhaps see me a little bit better. Oh, sorry, wobbling. So that one's got a much longer stem on it. And again, they come in all of the colours that you might want to use. You can see I've got lots of different colours. Some are shiny, some are not. This was my first purchase of Chicago screws, and I'll show you these because it was a mistake. These are, I think they're aluminium. They are quite hideous. I will admit I do use them sometimes when I'm playing around with patterns or testing things, just to kind of get an idea of how they work, but they're not shiny, they're not attractive. The back has a hole in, as opposed to the back of these, which just has the little sort of screw part in, and the front part is where you screw them in, so you get that sort of screw look on the front. They're aluminium and they're not shiny, and they're really not very nice. So you know, it's horses for courses. They were cheap, and when they arrived I realized why. So how do we fit a Chicago screw? Right, I've just chopped off a little bit off the side of my fabulous bag that I made. And for these we need a slightly larger hole because the stem is larger. So I'm going to make a larger hole, and again you need to, because you can't adjust these, you need to make sure that you're going through the right amount of layers. So I've made a hole using my leather punch. I'm just going to pop that half through the hole, and you need that hole to be tight around the stem. And again, you need the stem, I've got a little bit of extra fabric there, let's just trim that off because that will annoy me. You need the stem to literally just be protruding from the other side of your fabric. If it sticks, if I push that down, if it sticks out too far, your Chicago screw will not be secure. You'll have a gap. And all you do is, if you want to add a little bit of glue, then do so, is pop that second half on, use your screwdriver and tighten it up. And what you end up with is a really nice, shiny finish. And on the back, if you're using this to fit a strap and the back will be visible, that's what you're going to get to see. Now I'm going to unscrew that and just show you how ugly some of the others are. So when you're buying these, you need to check what both sides look like, because sometimes you just I'm inclined to see things, oh, I need that, and I don't really properly look. So these are the really ugly ones that I bought initially. This has a much thicker stem, so I actually think I'm going to need to make a bigger hole. So let's just go in and make that hole a touch bigger, so I can get this through. Again, you need the stem to be sitting nice and tightly within that hole. So I've popped that first half in. This is the front of my Chicago screw though. So you get the bit where you've actually turned, and you can see that's not nearly as attractive, and the back is actually ugly. Now again, if you find that you've only got Chicago screws that have got a really long stem, you can pack out in the middle, so you could add some extra thickness, so some extra little bits of faux leather or stiff interfacing or anything that will pack it out to make sure that both sides are nice and tight and snug either side of your fabric that you're using your Chicago screw on. So that one's not nearly as attractive. There are, however, also some other options with these, and I found some very interesting Chicago screws, or a screw type Chicago. I wouldn't like to say whether they're actually Chicago screws or not, but they are based on the same principle. Now this one, and I haven't got a cross-bladed screwdriver, so let me just grab a cross-bladed screwdriver, because this one's got a cross-headed back on it. This one is really cool because it has a dome on the front, and you have to fit that slightly differently because you have to fit the stem in first, and my hole is now too big for my stem, but we're just going to have to imagine that it isn't. You're going to pop the top bit on and then tighten up that screw. Again, you can put a bit of glue if you want to. And what you've got is a fabulous dome. Now they make great bag feet. They're also really good for sort of decorative frontage. So they're not flat and flush like the original ones. They're you can see they're raised. So you've got a dome, and I think they make great bag feet, and they're really cool for a sort of a decorative feature on the front of your bag. They do fit slightly differently because you have to fit the stem through first, and then this is almost like a cap on it. This one does exactly the same, and this one doesn't have a domed top. It has, just going to pop that on there and tighten it up. It has a square top. And again, that makes a fabulous bag foot, but they're both on the same principle as the Chicago screws. And you can get them with all different length stems. I've got some that have got really short stems, which are ideal for going through. Oh no, that's two tops. Let's find the bottom half of that. Shorter stems. This one isn't actually a shorter stem, but they are shorter than the big ones. Oh, can't make that one. My fingers won't work. And this one's got almost like a chamfered top to it. So it's like a flat top with a pretty angle on the side. They are literally all different. I have somewhere, but I don't have them here. I've got some that have got a decorated top as well, so they look really pretty because they've got a sort of an etched design on the top. Again, they come in all the colours that you could possibly wish for. but you do get what you pay for. You can see this is beautifully shiny. This one was a much cheaper one and isn't as shiny. It's sufficient, but it's not very shiny. And the aluminium ones, ladies, please, and ladies and gents, please just avoid those like the plague, because they are quite hideous. But they're a lot easier for those that have wrist problems, because they literally just screw in. So all you need is a screwdriver, either a flat blade or a cross-headed screwdriver. And if you're worried about them being secure, you can just add a little tiny drop of glue as you put them in. When you use these, now what I usually do, if I'm using faux leather, then I don't, but if I'm using them on fabric, I always pop a little drop of fray check on the inside there, just where I've made my hole, to make sure that nothing frays from the outside. But if they're fitted nice and tightly, then they won't do. As I say, if you've got a really long stem, you can pack out perhaps between the two pieces with some bits of extra faux leather, or some bits of, I don't know, anything you've got that you can use to pack that out slightly, so that the back and the front sit flush to the fabric that you're putting them on. But Chicago screws are a really great option. Again, buyer beware. Sometimes the quality isn't what you think it's going to be. My favourite ones are these that come, I bought these from Amazon, and I think they came from China, and they weren't particularly cheap, but they are fabulous. They're slightly bigger than a rivet head and really, really shiny, and I just love them. And I'm in love with these, the domes and the squares. I also have some stars somewhere, but I don't seem to have those in my drawer either. So shop around, see what you can find. I would always say, you know, buying quality with this sort of thing makes a huge difference to the finished look of your bag. I understand that a lot of people are new bag makers and don't want to invest a lot of money, so rivets is definitely the way forwards if you don't want to invest a lot of money, because Chicago screws are probably treble the price, if not more, especially if you want to buy the rainbow type ones. And I know lots of bag makers love the rainbow hardware, but it is expensive. And when you're making a bag, if you're selling, you have to think about the cost implication of all of the extra bits that you add on, not just the fabric, foam, interfacing and what have you, but all of these extra pieces will add to the selling cost of your bag, or the profit margin that you make if you're selling. So those are some Chicago screws. You can see they're really simple to use, but there are vastly different qualities depending on where you buy from. I'm not going to give you links to where to buy from. You need to do your own research based on your own budget. I will, however, say that without fail, anything that I've bought from Emmeline Bags has always been top dollar, top quality. And you can buy those things either directly from Emmeline or from So Hot in the UK, and there are various other suppliers in the UK that do Emmeline hardware, one actually on eBay even, but I'm not sure if Emmeline do Chicago screws. They certainly do rivets, and I love their rivets. So that's Chicago screws for you.